after being on a hunger strike for 20 days and not eating, in the heart of downtown Vancouver, outside of BC Hydro's main office. Like, what does it feel like to, like, go down and do the paddle and then come in and land and be able to eat, like, fresh produce grown on the alluvial flats that will be flooded by the dam? Is that, like, does it make it more real or what?
Yeah, well, both of those aspects were very challenging. I like to be in the wild. I like to be in the country. I don't do that well in the city right now. So that was challenging in its own aspect. So just being here and being on a farm and where there's wildlife and there's wild country, that's just really healing in itself. And going 20 days without food, I mean, if you know me, you know how much I love to eat and how much I love food. And yeah, it was really hard to like, you know, have to accept that. Just being like, you know, they really don't care. They don't care what I think. They don't care about this project in this valley and what it can do for the people. They care about pushing through like industrial development and displacing the people and destroying the valley. And so that was really discouraging for a while. And I kind of, you know, I had to cut myself off to physically recuperate and mentally recuperate from that experience. And that was really hard, also just being cut off from it and not being surrounded by the community. But once I kind of got my strength back and got myself back out there a bit, like, I feel more optimistic than ever.
Yeah, as much as I've really been inspired by, like, the protesting and, like, the activism that's been building around this, what's been really inspiring me lately is the community of young farmers down in the valley, because I think it shows it's such a shift. It's no longer about, like, notice, sight, see, and it's no longer talking about we need jobs that are going to last and that are going to be good for communities. It's this example of, like, young people going out in a market that has no other market gardeners, and they're literally getting out there, working with the land and producing food. And those jobs, if it wasn't for Site C, would last in perpetuity. Like, those jobs aren't going anywhere. Like, they have the opportunity to work with that land and grow food. And I think it's this really exciting thing, because farmers everywhere are aging out and people aren't getting back into farming, and it's being funneled into this industrial agricultural system, which is so damaging to the land. But in the last little bit, there's been this sudden resurgence of young farmers. And they're, like, eager to, like, you know what, I'm tired of hearing about how messed up the world is. I'm tired of hearing about all of these projects. Like, I just want to go out and I just want to grow food. And I just want to feed my communities, and I want to make a living doing that. And it's so exciting, and I'm so honored to know a bunch of young folks who are down in that valley. I mean, there's the market gardeners right on the Boone's land, Bess and Mike, and then there's also Colin Meek and Leslie Jardine and what they're doing with market gardening, and also organic hemp production and organic sunflower seed production. Like, it's incredible, and I think it really suddenly shifts, and we can see the value of the valley, and we can see how jobs can be created without destroying the land, and we can see how our labor can actually do something that's good for our communities.
Yeah, well, we met on day one of the BC Hydro strike, and it was you know, it was really hard. I started the strike because I thought it was a tactic that would work for bringing to light the urgency of this project, and I always hoped other people would strike with me. I thought it was a tactic that, you know, would have more force with more people behind it, and it's a really hard thing to ask of people, you know, to put their bodies on the line, and I didn't really feel like I could do that, so I was kind of continually waiting for people to join me, and you're the only one that did, and it meant the absolute world to me, and I'm, like, forever grateful to you for that, and that's why I'm here helping you in your garden and hanging out with you, because I just forever owe you, because if you hadn't done that, I don't know if I would have had the strength to go as long as I did.
But I mean, on the exact same, like, from my perspective with the whole situation, I mean, I grew up in the Northeast. I grew up here in Fort St. John, and my whole life it's just been like, nobody cares about this region. Like, that's my experience. The natural gas extraction, not even just natural gas, just the industrial development around here, and the fact that it always puts the people that live here second. Yes, there's job creation, but ultimately those jobs are exploitative of the people that live here. And there's already 2 dams on this river, and there's just so much coming out, and there's never anything coming back. And whenever people are hurt, and whenever people do say, you know what, enough is enough, like, Site C, this is just too much, this is too much, nobody seems to care. The rest of the province never seems to give us any kind of attention. And so, yeah, when I was down at BC Hydro, I remember, like, I'd had some word that this woman was going to do this hunger strike, and I was speaking at a rally, and I remember it was just like, I was beat down. I was so frustrated. I knew construction was going on. I knew Rocky Mountain Fort got shut down. I knew that the Boone stood to lose everything. I knew that friends that are trying to establish a future in organic stand to lose everything. They stand to lose their future. And as far as I was concerned, there was no audience. And suddenly you came out and said, like, yeah, I'm camping out here and I'm doing this hunger strike and I'm stopping this project. And someone who had never actually been up here. That's the other thing. Like, somebody who'd never been, you weren't from the Peace River region. And I think, like, that was exactly what we needed. We needed somebody for the first time to care about the Northeast who's never spent time here. We needed somebody from down south to really start to heal the divide between northeastern BC and southern BC. I had to do something to support you, and I'm so glad that I was allowed to participate in the camp and support you however I could. But on a bigger note, I think, like, the hunger strike's over, but what that did is absolutely incredible. I mean, it was amazing seeing that camp on the lawn grow from, first of all, being inspired by what the amazing people down at Rocky Mountain Fort were doing.
Yeah.
And go for a couple people camped out in the pouring rain and a lot of BC Hydro to suddenly being like, there's 10 people, there's 20 people, and now there's like this movement that's like organized this like their own event down in Vancouver, and there's all these different satellite events, and for the first time people are really being inspired that, like, no, we don't have to wait for somebody to come up that's a clear leader that says, like, oh, follow me, let's stop the dam. Suddenly people are realizing, like, we as British Columbians, we as Canadians, we as human beings who care about the food we eat have the power to stand up and really do something and halt this project. And it's dire and it's down to the wire, and this is when we need to do it. Like, it really marked this watershed moment where suddenly we realized, like, Site C is under construction. Like, $9 billion of British Columbians' money is about to be spent flooding our last chance at food security in the Northeast, our last chance at creating a future that maybe generates some of this energy through renewables and maybe creates long-term jobs. But instead, it's being thrown away to create a bunch of short-term construction jobs while simultaneously throwing away access to land that is extremely important if we start to consider where our food's coming from. I don't know, it was just such a game changer. And I mean, in the same note, just forever grateful for you for making that stand. And it's also been incredible having you up here and being able to show you the Peace River Valley and show you, like, my own connection to it and introduce you to people who are so completely inspired by what you did down there. Yeah, it's been a really powerful, and so you eat food from here. I mean, that's the other thing. You are
too good.
It's good seeing you eat food from this region, and I think it just speaks so much to what you were willing to do and the power of it.